Good afternoon, I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Welcome to Camnet TV Midday News. The headlines. Government confirms President Edgar Lungu experienced dissonance at the 45th Defence Day. British government concerned with the high levels of violence in Zambia. Join me with the Midday News in detail after this commercial.
Our achievements in the health sector. As the Patriotic Front government, we have recruited and deployed 27,000 nurses and other health personnel across the country to provide the much-needed healthcare, including the fight against COVID-19, child healthcare, as well as maternity care to all parts of the country. Vote for Edgar Lungu and the PF that have brought you change.
And now the Midday News in detail. President Edgar Lungu's handlers have informed the nation that he experienced sudden dizziness whilst officiating at the 45th Defence Force Day commemoration and investiture ceremony. President Edgar Lungu's principal private secretary and secretary to the cabinet have both confirmed the development following concerns from the Zambian community that the head of state had collapsed at the ceremony. The two states that had the head of state immediately recovered from the ordeal and walked straight to his official car and returned to State House without concluding his official duties. In a statement to Camnet TV News, Dr. Miti assured Zambians and the international community that the president is well and has continued discharging his duties as the head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Meanwhile, President Lungu was later seen fishing at State House Fish Pond while seated in a chair where he accused the opposition of being behind the continued violence. The president was responding to a question from a ZAMBIA crew who sought his opinion on the escalating levels of violence in the build-up to the 12th August 2021 election. President Edgar Lungu has, however, warned that if the Electoral Commission of Zambia and the Zambia police fail to act, he will be forced to act because he has blunted powers at his disposal.
The Almighty Lord and very effective for all things artillery operations. That is the equipment that is driving us, Your Excellency. The 122 BM multiviral rocket launcher are being funded by one person.
There is a plan for the opposition to replicate the events in Malawi in the last election. But we won't allow them to do that. They would like to play the people against the police. In the end, replicate the Malawi fiasco. You know, they're playing the courts, every other 10 court this, court that. But we know what's going on, and I'm still in charge of this country. Up to the 12th when I get the freshman head. And if the rules and the laws in place not respected by those who are charged with responsibility, I have my own laws, which are given to me by the Zambian Constitution. If the ECZ can't do their part, the police can't do their part. In the Constitution, if you read carefully, I have power which I can invoke anytime. And don't push me against that route. Yeah. Thank you very much. Already say, each one of us has got laws applicable to him. As ministries, government, local government ministry, Ministry of Health, the Zambia Police, we all have our mandate in different ministries that is given by law. And I'd like to believe that ECZ also have got their mandate in this respect. But if everything else doesn't work, because people think we are playing games with COVID-19, I still say, and I say it again, that I have power to certain powers in the Constitution. And I think I don't want to allow people don't want to listen to the need to stay apart, social distance, mask, sanitize, and so on. Oh, there is a law. Go and read. I don't want to be saying things which you say, no, I don't think about it. What do you don't think? Let's just respect the roles of local government ministry, the roles of Zambia Police, the roles of the Ministry of Health. The numbers are rising. And the percentage now is what? 17% now. And people are dying in homes and the hospitals and so on. And yet want to play with this. I will not allow myself to participate in this game. So if they cannot stick to the rules because there is campaigns and so on, this is a way of sorting out the campaign issues. You just go and vote on the top. You can't use television, you can't use the other channels. You have to stop people from gathering in the manner that they are doing.
The ruling Patriotic Front in Chawama has charged that there is no UPND in Chawama because the people are satisfied with the PF performance in government. Patriotic Front self-oriented National Commander Innocent Kalimanshi has told Camnet TV News that there is no UPND campaign materials in the streets and the PF is having a field day as they conduct door-to-door campaigns. He has since cautioned the UPND against conducting a road show in the area. But when reached for a comment, UPND Chawama constituency parliamentary candidate Foster Tembo accused the PF of using its cadres to pull down UPND campaign materials. He says the PF will be shocked if they continue underrating the UPND in Chawama.
The roadshow in Chawama for the UPND was scheduled to be held on Sunday, 13th June 2021, but it has been pushed to Tuesday this week as guided by the police. But a check in Lusaka's Chawama constituency found that there are no materials such as posters for the UPND candidate. This journalist was prompted to visit one of the PF camps led by self-proclaimed PF National Commander Innocent Kalimanshi. He told this journalist that there is no UPND in the area, claiming that people are happy with the PF performance in government, adding that the people are being persuaded to join the ruling party to give the PF candidate Tasila LUNGU a sound victory on the 12th of August 2021.
So if you need some is abantu already what background to send out. So no commission in one shower. Kwambira ako mwatufuna no commission fika pano. Asiana mwana material ipe. So if you nshilo kwa chawa makwati bakapunda 89 hours.
Claiming that they have no members in the area, hence it will be illogical for them to import people.
So it's what the for Chawama, the fire is like why they haven't do our Chawama. About what teach by Savamuna. It's not much by Savamon. No matter Pudi. Why will I finish about 2 days and always not issue. So today, Romba Kuriba Ika Indi. Nama members were about UPND. Kuno Takwaba UPND. Prochama Takwa UPND. But in our case, if you go back to Ben, I will go back and then what to the chongo in Africa, and then we are at the chongo. Munganda Munis. When I shishi the finger for an which Papa program.
Port Fatembo has accused the PF of pulling down their campaign materials.
If they are getting into the race with directing people, they will be shocked. On the 12th of August, because we are dealing with the new people, while they are dealing with the streets, intimidating people and removing people's posters. The people of Chawama are not interested in that politics. They already know who they will vote for. So let them continue with the street politics of intimidation, removing people's posters. But come 12th August, they will be shocked.
He says they have resorted to door-to-door campaign to persuade people using their developmental agenda of easing the cost of living when voted into office.
That within 48 hours,
of being in office, cadres would disappear in Chawama. They will not be seen anymore. Because we have zero tolerance on thuggery in the name of cadreism. Within 48 hours, they will disappear at Snow White, at Kwamboka, at Embers, at Kuku. The streets will be clean. Those that are employable will give them jobs.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
In other news, British Ambassador to Zambia Nicholas Woolley has urged stakeholders in the electoral process to take a strong stand against violence in this year's elections. The country has been witnessing isolated incidences of political violence during the campaign period ahead of the August 12th general elections. And the British envoy Ghastly underscored the need to uphold the rule of law by denouncing violence in order to have credible polls in line with democratic principles.
It's a very important point, and absolutely it's fundamental that respect of freedom of expression is preserved, and that violence, a very strong stand is taken against violence. It's important for all stakeholders, whether that's ourselves or political leaders, whoever they may be, community leaders, to take a very strong stand and call out violence in all its forms. It's important that a level playing field is provided for all political parties to campaign. We have seen recent restrictions necessitated by the fact that Zambia is now in a third wave of the COVID pandemic. But as I said at the start of the campaign, it's vital that any rules or restrictions that are applied to campaigning are applied evenly across all political parties.
The Zambian Institute of Governance and Civil Liberty Advocacy Platform Chief Executive Officer Francis Chipili has condemned the violence taking shape in most parts of the country. In an interview, Mr. Chipili explains that Zambia has no space for violence, adding that people should strive to sell their party manifestos and not throwing stones at their opponents. He has cited the incidents in Pulungu and one in Lusaka recently as some of the cases that should not be repeated. Meanwhile, Mr. Chipili has called on the police to ensure that their presence is felt whenever politicians are holding their events to avoid any chance of recording violence.
Highly immoral for politicians to disrespect the sacredness of life. We've seen citizens being injured. It's immoral for politicians to hinge their campaign on the shed of blood. It's important that politicians stop the blame game. We are appealing, as an institute, we are appealing to all the politicians from the political divide to publicly denounce and instruct their cadres to stop immediately the perpetration of political violence. We cannot develop a country amid this confusion. We know some politicians, they want to use political violence as a strategy to propel them to forming government or continue forming, ruling the country, but that's not the way that it's supposed to be done. Politics is supposed to be a battle for ideas and not physical hindering of each other, using the underprivileged to perpetrate violence while the children of the politicians remains at home. It's very important that we continue to maintain peace in our country. The peace that we've continued to enjoy must be preserved by all costs, and as such, all politicians must own up and not engage in any forms of a blame game, because blame game won't solve the problem. The politicians must demonstrate leadership by ensuring that they condemn and instruct their cadres to stop immediately the perpetration of this violence. Zambia is well positioned, and so any form of violence will just disrupt the gains that we have attained economically, politically and socially. We need to build on the successes that we have attained, and this cannot be attained through violence. So we are appealing to the police IG, to the Inspector General of Police, to ensure that it deploys enough police personnel across the country to ensure that wherever there are campaigns, wherever there are road shows, the police presence is felt.
That news item brings us to the end of Camnet TV Midday News, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. Government confirms President Edgar Lungu experienced dizziness at the 45th Defence Day. British government concerned with the high levels of violence in Zambia. That is all. Thank you for joining me. Allow me to say happy birthday to Roberta Msonda. Continue being awesome, and remember, always wear your mask, avoid crowded places, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds or use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Stay safe. Good afternoon.